secondly, that amongst the Republican models, the one that has just got 73 votes is clearly preferred. Now, when you bind those two together, it would be a travesty in common sense terms of Australian democracy for that proposition not to be put to the Australian people.
This was the best republic that the best brains of the Republican movement could come up with, and it could only get 45% support, and that is a credit to the healthy scepticism of the Australian people when faced with change for change's sake and a dud model republic.
And my fifth question, I'd like to come back to the blame for the loss. And I do remember the occasion when you announced that the referendum would be put, that model would go to the referendum, although it had not attained a majority of the delegates, although a plurality and a clear majority of the Republican members of the convention. When you put that, I seem to recall a standing ovation, enormous excitement and approval in the media. You were the hero who would reluctantly give them their republic. But when the Australian people rejected that, a number of myths emerged. What I found rather irritating is those myths were repeated over and over. Letter editors never corrected them, newspapers never corrected them. One was that you rigged the convention. Well, you didn't rig the convention. I remember telling you that of those you appointed in your gift, the overwhelming majority turned out to be Republicans. So you certainly didn't rig the membership of the convention. The second myth, which is frequently repeated, is that you selected the model, which seems to be ridiculous. And the third question, which particularly I'd like to question you on, that is that you designed the question which would cause the Republic to be lost.
Well, all of those allegations are just complete false. The question that was put to the Australian people was very clear. It was a direct reflection of the majority view amongst those who wanted a republic coming out of the convention. And if I had wanted to frustrate the will of that convention, I'd have said, well, because there's no overall majority for one single proposition, then we're not, there's not going to be a referendum. But I knew that the sentiment at the convention was in favour of putting a Republican option to the Australian people in time for that option to take effect in coinciding with the centenary of Federation. And I thought if I didn't do that, I would be seen as being dishonourable, no, not dishonourable, as being unwilling to reflect the view of the convention, which I had promised I would. And I think everybody at the time thought I'd done the right thing. Ardent Republicans, like the two I've mentioned, were all in favour of it. Because at that stage they thought they were going to win. I thought they might win too, because the polls were not going all that well for the monarchy in Australia, different era then. But the support of the place of the monarchy in Australia will always depend on the favour and consent of the Australian people. It's a long time since there's been any divine right of kings or queens. The monarchy is part of our constitution because the Australian people want it to be. And what the referendum demonstrated to me was that, exposed to public opinion and debate, the clear majority of Australians wanted to keep the monarchy. Now, I think it will stay with us for a very long time into the future. I see no reason to change. In the years that have gone by, 20 years, the monarchy, if anything, is slightly more entrenched than it was in 1999, but it will always be a question that the Australian people can be asked to reflect on, and I will never argue that you should not have another referendum. I don't think there's any demand for one at the moment. I think people are supremely disinterested in Republican referendums or plebiscites or whatever you want to do. And on that score, those who want to change have got to work out what change they want. And there's still this monumental debate amongst Republicans between direct election of a president and effectively an appointed president. And I know people very close to me who voted yes in 1999, who made it very plain that if the choice were between the current monarchy position and a directly elected president, they would vote for the monarchy. Because quite rightly they would see a directly elected president as fundamentally challenging the balance of power in our parliamentary democracy.
Would a president who was chosen by a 2/3 majority of Parliament also have a mandate?
Well, yes, but then the Prime Minister is chosen by Parliament. I think I know the argument you're putting, but the weakness of that argument is that if you have somebody who's chosen by the government of the day to be president, and that man or woman is a worthy citizen who everybody respects, as a matter of good form, the opposition would support that person. In the same way that the appointment of most governors general, in my experience, have been welcomed by the opposition party. I mean, there was a governor. I was opposition leader when Sir William Dean was appointed Governor General, and I very strongly supported him as the Governor General from opposition. It was only several weeks before the change of government, and that was the attitude that was taken by the Labor Party in relation to Sir Peter Cosgrove
And Sir Robert Menzies changed his view of Sir William McKell.
Menzies was something of an exception. He was very critical of McKell's appointment, but he ordered it. And I, generally speaking, took the view when I was Prime Minister, and my view hasn't altered, that it's better to find the Governor Generalship amongst that enormous number of talented men and women who are not in politics.